Welcome back to True Crime Psyche, where true crime and crama creators are examined with the same level of scrutiny they apply to victims and cases. If you want to know more about me, you can watch my video entitled Who is True Crime Psyche, or check out my channel description. As you may recall, in the first installment of Who is Dolly Vision, we reviewed several patterns observed from his own online acts and words regarding missing children. In the first video, I gave my opinion that Dolly Vision's behavior may suggest that he is an opportunist, exploiting missing children cases for profit, and that he appears to consider and treat missing children cases as entertainment. Since the release of the first video, several Dolly Vision supporters have expressed their opinion that this is not the case, and they are entitled to their opinion. In fact, I encourage these people to create channels to highlight what they believe Dolly Vision has achieved. I would appreciate seeing that perspective, and I am quite certain many others would like to hear about all of the success stories Dolly Vision has to show how he has helped victims, families, and law enforcement. But I continue to stand by my former opinion, and in fact, the most recent statistic appears to give even greater credence to it. Since the publication of Part 1, Dolly Vision's tally of live streams covering the Sebastian Rogers case is now up to 54 videos. It is my belief that this increasing number only serves as greater support to my opinion that he may be exploiting this child as entertainment and for profit. But let us now continue with the scrutiny of Dolly Vision, highlight several patterns, and look into some potential character traits suggested by his own acts and words. Let us begin with an illustrative example supporting the pattern of how Dolly Vision uses missing children in a repetitive way for gain. In my first video, I included Dolly Vision's self-described search for summer wells, but to support the pattern of what appear to be bogus searches for missing children, let us view a series of videos Dolly Vision produced where he claimed to be searching for the missing child, Cody Bigsby. In the first of a set of alleged search videos, Dolly Vision appears to be at a marked trail which he claimed was located behind the rear of the apartment complex where Cody Bigsby lived at the time he was reported missing. Dolly Vision appears next to a camping chair wearing a jacket, a large beekeeper hat, and fishing waders while holding a walking stick. He holds up a flyer with Cody's image and says he's looking for the child. He enters the trail, claiming he is going to do an off-trail grid search in a wooded area with others. But in this video, he never appears to leave the trail, and no other searchers are shown performing the search with him. He is shown picking up a tube of toothpaste with bare hands, and later, while speaking calmly, he abruptly and dramatically scurries up to and pokes a black tarp and blanket. He mentions that there might be snakes 5 times. In the subsequent video of his alleged grid search, Dolly Vision is shown on the same day, in an area that includes the same trail and the immediate area adjacent to it. It does not appear that he stepped off the trail more than a foot or so. He says he is marking an area right off the trail, saying it is soft and an area of interest. To mark it, Dolly Vision appears to scrounge around the ground, picks up an old tree branch, snaps it in half, and places it on the ground among what looks to be other sticks, branches, and foliage. He next is shown in the same place on the trail, poking the same black tarp in the first video, but from a different camera angle. Near the end of this video, someone he refers to as Dave makes a brief appearance and pokes around a tree. The next installment of the so-called search appears to be the same day, and Dolly Vision is standing near a water-filled drainage ditch that appears to be located on or right off the trail, then uses his large machete-like knife to try and cut some low blades of grass. He quickly departs and begins hacking a hanging tree branch. This video ends abruptly like a cliffhanger, as Dolly Vision peers into a bush and says that he sees what he thinks is a metal piece of a car. We learn in the final installment, dated July 27th, that Dolly Vision has found pieces of an old car. Dolly Vision states that he thinks it's a Mustang, and he points out and holds pieces of it. He seems to know a lot about finding and identifying car parts, but not so much finding a missing child.
All right, here we go. This car still has the engine block intact, and the engine is in the back.
He also notes that he is not going to dig too deep at this area, once again emphasizing that snakes may be present. He then appears to jump back onto the trail. The video then cuts to Dolly Vision, claiming he is returning to the entire area the next day to do a full grid search and, quote, chalk it all out and look under every rock.
We'll come out tomorrow with the chalk, start gridding this off. We're going to make sure everything, every rock, every stone in these woods are flipped.
The video concludes with Dolly Vision entering a 7-Eleven convenience store where he posts a flyer on a window. The flyer features Cody Bigsby, the missing child, but also has a prominent Dolly Vision logo on the bottom. To date, no other video of any chalked-out grid search exists in Dolly Vision's playlists. It appears from a survey of Dolly Vision's content that his so-called search actually ended with the July 27th video, which suggests that no full chalked-out grid search ever occurred, as Dolly Vision states in his video. In my opinion, what is presented in the videos does not possess the features of a valid grid search for a missing child. In fact, it seemed the exact opposite. A brief, random, haphazard, disorganized, senseless effort for show. The videos only showed one other person and consisted mostly of poking obvious things immediately on or just off the trail. There was no map, no grid, no team, no gloves, no evidence markers. Nothing that demonstrated the occurrence of a careful, legitimate grid search effort at all. The collection of purported search videos, in my opinion, represents the pattern of acts and words, where Dolly Vision claims to be performing a search, but he may just be performing for entertainment and personal gain. In my opinion, the lack of a follow-up video showing the chalked-out complete organized grid search, as Dolly Vision purported he would be doing, suggests he never did it. It is also my opinion from watching his alleged search videos that this content could possibly be designed to deceive viewers, who might not know better, into believing that they were watching a valid grid search effort. To manipulate viewers into believing that this was a genuine grid search to locate a missing child, in the hopes that viewers would perceive Dolly Vision as just an altruistic guy, someone who was really helping. I was personally left with the opinion that this content was produced for opportunistic benefit for the creator's personal gain. Moving away from the pattern, let us now look at what Dolly Vision's own online acts and words may potentially reveal about his persona. Interestingly, he appears to demonstrate characteristics that may be associated to persons possessing traits indicative of antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD. People who are affected by the disorder may con, lie, or exploit. Based on what I've outlined already, in my opinion, it appears that exploitation may exist. A person with ASPD may also fight with or assault others and take actions that are aggressive or reckless, often rash and without any thought. They may also have no regard that their acts may be morally or legally wrong, or that they may cause harm to others. And often, such a person does not gain any wisdom or learn from the consequences of their actions or misdeeds. Since I do not look outside a creator's own online acts and words, I will limit myself here to what I have observed. But I am aware that there are allegations that Dolly Vision has had a series of legal problems allegedly relating to at least once physical encounters with a woman. Since Dolly Vision has not been crystal clear in addressing these matters online, such that I can fully and fairly consider the circumstances, I will not consider or rely on those allegations or explanations for purposes of this video. I have, however, observed Dolly Vision's own online words and acts, as well as an event that led to his subsequent arrest that was live-streamed. The first of Dolly Vision's online behavior is an online audio clip from when he had his former channel where he described a physical encounter with a woman. This specific content has since been deleted but remains available in various forms on YouTube. Here is an excerpt of Dolly Vision's own words that you can listen for yourself. But please be aware, this may be a trigger.
I kind of like spun around, so now she's in my face like this. As soon as I could see her, I grabbed this bitch by the neck. Ow! And I mean, I squeezed so tight on her neck, I could feel my fingers touching. I said, I could feel them touching. Look, she's gurgling. I could hear her. I had been over her car choking, and she still wouldn't let go of my hair. I'm looking her in the face, strangling her. I be strangling the shit out. I'm like, let go of my fucking hair. Let go of my fucking hair. Let go of my fucking hair, right? And you can see her turning purple, right? And look, I told her, I said, you bitch, I'm gonna punch you.
Clearly, in Dolly Vision's own words, he admits to and describes a violent encounter he had with a female. In my opinion, the audio disclosing the violent interaction tends to provide support to the ASPD trait of a tendency to engage in fights and/or assaults with others. I also personally felt, from listening to Dolly Vision's recollection of the encounter, that there were no hints in word choice, tone, or affect to reveal any remorse. In my view, the way he includes sound effects during the telling of the encounter heightens the likelihood that he does not take this violent, serious, and disturbing matter seriously. Instead, he refers to the woman using a demeaning expletive and sounds agitated and angry. He mentions 3 times that the woman was pulling his hair after he first laid hands on her and started choking her. In my opinion, that suggests that Dolly Vision believes his violent conduct is justified, and he wants the listener to think so too. All of this underscores the persona of someone who may lack any awareness of the serious nature of one's acts and a disregard for consequences from those acts. It hints at a person who possesses no growth or responsibility stemming from their own acts during such an encounter, and thus someone who has failed to confront meaningful consequence from one's own violent acts. All of this can potentially reflect ASPD traits. Dolly Vision's own live-streamed conduct and a subsequent arrest for the assault of a woman also suggests these same traits. But it also adds a bit more insight for us to consider when reviewing his potential real-life persona. For history, in the fall of 2022, Dolly Vision showed up with other creators in Savannah, Georgia, outside the home of, at that time, still missing baby Quentin Simon. The group arrived on the side of the road, alleging at the start that they were protesting. By definition, a protest is typically organized to express an objection. This, in my opinion, was never clearly articulated at the outset, but it became apparent days later that the group's focus shifted. Many began attacking and protesting the local police for not just running out and making an immediate arrest of Quentin Simon's mother. During this time, the police had publicly stated, and real journalists provided images, that law enforcement was working on obtaining evidence they needed to support any arrest and prosecution. In fact, as Dolly Vision and the group stood around yelling and carrying on, law enforcement was painstakingly working under harsh conditions in a landfill during mostly hot weather conditions, looking for necessary evidence and the child's remains. But this was insufficient for the hostile, loud, and unruly group. Law enforcement and media referred to Dolly Vision and the group as hecklers, and it was also stated in the news that the group was creating a quote money-making circus. An observation of online live streams showing the round-the-clock heckling demonstrated loud, amplified, disruptive, and harassing conduct in a residential neighborhood. Have a look and a listen for yourself.
Section, okay? I'm live streaming as a turtle, so I ain't breaking no law. It's entertainment. You can't tell me I can't entertain my viewers, okay?
Dolly Vision claimed his presence was to help and to protest, but his heckling and antics did nothing to find missing Quentin. It did not help law enforcement to locate the child or lead the police to locate any legally sufficient evidence to make an arrest. Dolly Vision's behavior, in my opinion, diverted scarce police resources to respond at all hours to deal with the heckler circus. These resources could potentially have been devoted to helping with the investigation for Quentin. Dolly Vision's selfish behavior only appeared to help himself, resulting in attention in the form of clicks, views, super chats, cash apps, and free food sent to him via Uber Eats from those viewing his useless heckling antics at the expense of the investigation. The utter disregard for how his actions affected those residing in this residential area, as well as the potential harm and waste he created by his actions, in my opinion, represents another trait that may be affiliated with ASPD. But most significant during Dolly Vision's time in Savannah was his encounter and arrest for assault of a woman. A woman who purported to be protesting against the hecklers spoke through a bullhorn from around the back side of a parked vehicle. The woman was not in proximity to Dolly Vision at this time. Dolly Vision can be observed walking calmly around the opposite side of the car, around the car where others are gathered, and with force and with no visible threat of immediate harm or provocation to himself, he walks right up the woman. He physically, forcefully rips the bullhorn out of the woman's hands as she clings on to it, and it appears to break apart and fall on the ground. Dolly Vision immediately leaves the scene.
But you ain't gonna get out here and you ain't gonna disrespect me, lady. You ain't gonna get out here and call me names. You ain't gonna scream in my face in a goddamn bullhorn. You ain't gonna do no more. She ain't out there screaming nothing at me. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you that.
He was later arrested for assault and disorderly conduct, and after his release from jail, he quickly left the state. Dolly Vision later spoke of the incident, denying any culpability, saying often he didn't do anything wrong because he did not touch the woman. But according to Georgia law, the crime of assault can include what Dolly Vision did. However, the woman against whom the offense was committed ended up dropping the charges, so Dolly Vision faced no legal consequence. To my knowledge, to date, even though the video depicts the conduct for which he was arrested for assault, he continues to deny any culpability. This incident tends to show classic ASPD traits, not only by engaging in aggressive conduct against a woman resulting in an assault charge, but by committing what might be described as a rash, reckless act with no regard for any potential harm. Dolly Vision's post-incident words suggest he may believe he was perfectly fine and right in what he did, and thus wholly indifferent to the reality of the legal consequence of his own voluntary, aggressive, physical acts. In my opinion, the disregard he demonstrates towards possible criminal consequences, coupled with an apparent lack of any responsibility, shows he is devoid of any. And so it follows that he appears to have learned nothing from his own acts. Dolly Vision has also shown a pattern of engaging in what, in my opinion, constitutes disturbing online conduct towards other female creators on YouTube. In one situation, he appeared to be angry at a female creator who criticized his content and actions. He later posted a comment soliciting the public for information about the creator's family. The solicitation was, in my opinion, designed to threaten, menace, and intimidate the female creator and was likely an attempt to silence criticism. He has also publicly engaged in a repetitive pattern of what seems to be false copyright strikes against mostly female creators who offer criticism. Such a pattern is consistent with an inability to manage anger and a disregard for the law, which again is something that can be associated with ASPD. Finally, Dolly Vision appears to be indifferent to societal norms. Such an indifference may sometimes be a trait of ASPD. For instance, Dolly Vision shows no regard for what may be considered unacceptable behavior by the general public when covering true crime cases. He does not appear to understand why many are disgusted by his coverage of missing children and crime victims. In my opinion, Dolly Vision's own online acts and words may denote a persona devoid of authentic understanding, care, and empathy towards child victims of crime and true crime cases in general. Instead, he seems to show no respect or care in his coverage, in how his own conduct may damage victims, innocent people, and cases. Just his titles alone reveal a twisted, insensitive cruelty towards victims, let alone how he speaks of them and makes victims' stories fodder for entertainment. Even his environment, showcasing a carnival theme, and at times including representations of Hollywood-created serial killers, suggest an obvious lack of compassion, sensitivity, insight, and basic comprehension of the real-life gravity of the missing children and true crime cases he discusses. Make no mistake, the world outside of those who are engrossed in true crime, when hearing of the exploitative nature of many creators and their antics, do not see this as part of an acceptable societal norm. The majority of the world does not accept the blatant exploitation of missing children and crime victims for entertainment value. And yet Dolly Vision, when criticized, simply dismisses it and calls his critics haters. Such ignorance reeks of someone who lacks any regard for societal norms. What creators would you like me to analyze next? All suggestions will be considered, and you can add yours to the comment section that is below this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you will be the first to know when the next True Crime Psyche video drops.